Hi, my name is Sherry. Welcome to my stamp studio. Today I'm going to show you another card. We've been doing a series of cards from our upcoming January to June 2020 mini catalog. And you can see all of these beautiful samples on the front. And here's one on the back. And I can't show you the inside because we're not allowed to until January 3rd. But as you go to my website, as I build a little catalog of samples, I can take pictures of things that I've made and things that I have. So as I have time and I get them posted, I can show you the stamp sets and the dies and pictures that I take. I just can't show you the inside of the catalog. But today I am going to be using this suite of products. It's 2 stamp sets and 2 die sets and beautiful paper, beautiful embellishments, some pretty ribbon. I'm not going to use all of it today, but I am going to use some mixing and matching. So you'll have to go to my website later to see exactly what I've used. But if you don't have a catalog, if you don't have somebody sending you one, if you're one of my customers already and you've purchased like in the last 9 months, you'll get one sent to you automatically. It'll be sometime in December by the time I get them and I get them back out to you. Or if you come to my events at my house, obviously you'll get one. I don't know if I'll have them in time for December camp, but you'll definitely get them in January, or if you swing by sometime in December and pick them up. If you have purchased from me in the past, but it's been a minute, then you won't automatically get one because at this point I have so many people that I have to just call it back because I can't keep sending them to people and not knowing if you're buying from somebody else, if you just don't stamp anymore, which those people probably aren't even watching me, but they're expensive to buy and to mail, and so I just don't want to send them to people who don't need them. So if you want one and you haven't purchased from me, then to let me know that you want one, just head to my website. The link is above and below all over my website, on my Facebook page, or at Sherry, CHERI.StampinUp.net, and just place a small order, and then that will let me know that you're still interested in getting one. And if you haven't purchased for a while and you don't have the current holiday in the annual catalog, it won't cost me any more really to send them all together. So if you need them all, let me know you need them all and I can send them all. So let's get started on the card. I'm going to use none of the actual poppy stamps, but I am going to use this wonderful sentiment set, and it is part of the poppy suite, and some of the dies that go with it, they fit on the labels that are part of it. So that's why it's part of the suite, and it has a great happy birthday, but it has great insides and outsides. I really like this sentiment, and it says, these are the moments that will look back on with joy, and that can go on so many different cards. I'm not using it on today's card, but I really do like that, and you will see it on some of my projects in the future. So that's called Peaceful Moments. So I'm going to use the paper trimmer, but I'm going to use it for scoring first. And to remind you, in November, if you spend $115 on my website, then you get one of these for free. And that's just my personal special. That's not a Stampin' Up! Special. So you need to order from me and you need to use the host code. But if you have any questions on how to do that, just let me know. Still not better. Still coughing, but I'm trying. So you're going to put this in and you're going to score it at 5.5 because this card opens, it's going to open this way, but it's cut halfway down the 8.5 by 11 instead of 5.5. So let's, cold medicine. Numbers aren't my friend on the best of days. So we're going to put this in here and we need to score it at 5.5. So the markings are pretty good. And down here I have taken, I don't know if you can see it, I took a Sharpie and I just marked 4 1/4 and 5.5 because those will be the ones that we use most often. And at camp last month we made the triangle cut card. And so this just helps you know 4 1/4, 5.5. You don't even have to do, the numbers are not your friend for those of you that are like me. And then on this one, this is the scoring blade and this is the cutting blade. So I don't need to cut. So I'm going to get that out of the way while I'm thinking about it. Just line this up here in the 5.5 and just score it. And the reason I'm doing this as opposed to folding, because I have a really cute bone folder, but I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and this way now it's scored where I need it and I can see it, but it's not going to be crooked and it's not going to kind of like raise back up. So let's do our die cutting. So pull this over here. Put the one that's more cut up down here. And then this die set has a really fun die, and we're going to have to run it through twice. So it looks like this, and it's the poppies. but it doesn't cut all the way through. So it gives you kind of a flower window panel. I'm going to put it up here towards the top and towards the edge, and that's what we're going to run through twice. So just kind of wherever it goes is where it goes. So run it through once up here. And that's why I wanted to score and not fold, because whenever you fold, then sometimes that can repress your fold and it's not great. I really didn't need to do that. I was just showing you the fold. But then when you send this through and you have this, now I haven't folded it, but I knew where my half was. So see how fun that is? So I have that. So it gives the flower pattern, but it doesn't punch out. But this does leave little things in here. So before you run it through, just take your pick little brush die, which is an accessory piece that you can get for it. And just knock those out. Get the few scragglers with the pick, because if you don't get those out, then the next one's not going to cut as well. I'm not at the best angle to do this. And there's also a little foam mat that gets them out quicker, but between my die cutting machine and the paper cutter and everything else I needed for this project, I really didn't have, want to put the little foam mat over here. I'm just going to flip this upside down because it's got straggly pieces on it. So roll this back through, and now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of like make another little window. And it's not going to, it doesn't matter. You just don't want them to overlap because you don't want a hole. So kind of like that. Just roll this one through. And again, because there's no seam that's already pressed, it's not going to press a crooked seam. I'm going to go one more time on that too, since the other ones seem to do well. So now we've got this all nice and pretty, and I'm making a mess on my table. Let's get the other two pieces. So this is fabulous. It's one of the little frames that cuts out the words, and I have a piece of shimmery white cardstock, because you know, all the white cardstock you use should almost always be shimmer. Put this on here, but I'll show you what it does. And then I have a piece of glossy black foil. That's the black foil. Put those on so they're not going speed bump. They're not going to go straight through and make that horrible noise that your machine can make if you go speed bump. If you always get a giant clank when you go through, you're going through speed bump. But don't do that. So I think these both just need one. So this gives a fabulous little beveled edge. Can you see the little beveled edge? It's so pretty. I have ink all over my fingers. I have been stamping a lot because I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done before the holidays. And then this one just makes a little eyelet strip. Here. I'll get the rest of those out in a second. So that's all this. And now look at my fun mess on the table. I put this cute little thing here to catch all the mess, and then I still knock it on the table. But I can scoot some of it in there. Okay, now let's start putting this together. The only ink I'm going to need is Memento, because there's not a whole lot of stamping on this card. I do have the happy birthday. It's not that one. It's right here. There's the celebration one, looks really similar to this one, and I had it out from the, if you've watched my mountain video, it was on that one. So you could stamp this one and run it through first, but it's pretty easy to line up. So it had, now you have a cute little tag. This one has just really pretty kind of labels in it. So put that there. Now we're going to bring the paper trimmer back up here. And this time I'm actually going to trim it. And I would just like to say that I used Dazzling Diamonds on my swaps that I took to Onstage. And apparently at some point I got them on my paper trimmer. So everything, at first I couldn't figure out where all the sparklies were coming from. Because on my card that's this, which it doesn't really matter, it can be sparkly. But I couldn't figure out where the Dazzling Diamonds came from. And then when I picked this back up, I noticed that somehow they got spilled on here. Not spilled necessarily, but it may have been my cat walked through them and his little paws put more on it. But there are definitely, so I tried to wipe it off. But you know, the wonder that is static electricity when we turn on our furnaces. It's just kind of everywhere. Tilt that back into my... So until I get all of this, see, it's down in here. And that's after I've already cleaned it off, but it just, you know, Dazzling Diamonds. Dazzling Diamonds is beautiful, but it's not necessarily always our friend. That's why we prefer Wink of Stella. But when I was doing swaps and I was making a lot, the Dazzling Diamonds were faster. You may have seen that video. Okay, so I'm going to put this in and I'm going to get rid of, I wanted to do this after I had cut this because I want to get rid of a section of it. And because I've already scored it, I'm not going to ruin, like this is still going to be in half. So put this in here. This time I don't need the scoring blade, so move it up. One of the hints with the new paper trimmer is barely press. Like I am just going to pull it. It's not down. There we go. You don't have to press, because if you press hard, you're going to dull your blades. So you barely press. This one doesn't have one of those rubber pieces that go in the middle like our old one did. So you barely press, because if you press hard, you're using up more of your blade than you need to. It just needs to touch the paper and then it goes through. So now we have, when I put it through the, I should have scored this again, because you know when you put it through the die cutting machine, it flattens it. There we go. Nope, I didn't get it on the right line. That's okay, we can fix it. It's right here. I have to take my glasses off because of the sunshine coming in my office. Here we go. I should have scored it in here. I'm going to put it in here. I'll show you how to fix this, because on this card it doesn't matter. The back's getting covered up with. I can see the score line. It's right here. But when you put it through the die cutting machine, actually, you know, a funny story, I have the mistake of this card. Well, it's not a mistake. I didn't like it. My daughter said it was okay. My girlfriend said it was okay. I didn't like it. So you're going to get to see the mess up. Except at one point it had ribbon and leaves. And you know, when you mess with the card so much, there we go. This is the half mark. When you mess with the card so much that you keep pulling stuff off, and I actually pulled the card out of the trash cans or the rubbish bin, depending on what part of the hemisphere you're from, so I could show it to you. So just a reminder, if you send this through the Big Shot, there you go. But we are going to take this and we're going to add this piece here. And then this gives you this really pretty fun window, and then this over here. And then this was cut 5 1/2, which is exactly what this is. When I cut them for my demonstrator event coming up, I'm going to cut them 5 1/4, because by the time you lose this little bit in the fold, it's always a little bit too big. And I meant to trim that, but there's an easy fix for that. So then when you stick this in here, think about which end you want to be the one that shows through. Do you want this end with the purple, or do you want this end that has a few other colors? I'm going to go for this end over here. So just take your adhesive. So see, I have a little bit of a flub where I folded that. It doesn't matter. If you did, if it's going to show, just send it back to your Big Shot and it'll press that out of it. So just hold your fold up there and just lay it down. But so many people get frustrated when they stamp and they're like, oh, now I have to throw that away, which I did throw away my card that I originally made. It started out white. It was too busy. I used one of the other papers out of this designer series paper. Just fold this over, or see, it's a 1/4 inch too big because of what we lose in the fold. So now you have a really pretty see-through. Then another piece of this suite are these gorgeous Peaceful Poppy sequins. Look how pretty they are. And then because I've been trying to go back to the holiday catalog that is out right now to remind you that there's still things that you might want to get, because we'll know sometime in December what's carrying over for sure. But this next thing, I doubt that it carries over. So you might want to stock up on it, because it's fun to use on this card. If you don't have this, I'm going to use the Shimmery Crystal Effects. If we don't have it, use we call it the green glue, just the liquid glue that comes in the green thing. But this is pretty because if it goes out, then it's got some Dazzling Diamonds. That's not going to make a mess everywhere. So just add a smudge into all of these flower centers. It goes really fast. And this is going to hold our sequins on. And again, the liquid glue would do the same thing, but this is just pretty because it's got the sparkle. So it adds a little bit more and it matches the dazzling diamonds that have spilled all over my card. Then you're going to take your pick tool that has not the brush tip in it and use your sticky end. So just twirl it. This is one of the things I keep meaning to buy a new one of because mine's getting towards the end. So where it's dry, just pull that off because you need a little sticky piece. And then just get some different colored sequins. And then you just knock them into the glue or the Crystal Effects. And then what comes through on these is shimmery. So these there's different colors. There's matte black, which is really pretty. At first I thought I didn't want any of the black ones on here, and then I accidentally got one. So see, you pick them up with this tip here. And it's got two. It holds on to it, and then you just knock it in with your finger. Super easy, and then push it back down with the pokey tip. But there's flower shaped and then traditional sequin shapes. So just kind of get a mix of the colors. And then you can see, I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to get a close up where the Crystal Effects kind of comes back up through. But the Crystal Effects is like the fine tip glue. So it's nice and strong, and I'll hold these on here and they won't fall off. So there's clear and there's an orange, which I would say is Calypso. And there's a red, which must be Poppy. And then there's traditional sequin shapes. There's the matte black, and then there's the little flower shapes. So just get a nice mix of all of them. See, it goes super fast. You just want to have all your glue ready. You know where they're going to go on this one because they're going to go in the center of your flowers. And how fast is that? Because some people are like, I like the sequins, but I don't know what to do with them. And I don't make shaker cards. I hardly ever make a shaker card either, but you don't need them. We're going to add some to the tag, so I'll leave that there. Then you can add this, but it's kind of a stark white, and I wanted it to match the paper more. So I'm going to take my blends, and these are the blend colors that are in the paper. So I have Calypso Coral, Poppy Parade, Flamingo, and Blackberry. Oh, no, Razzleberry. Blackberry's in the paper, but I went with Razzleberry. I don't have any scrap. But here's my mountains from the mountain card. So just take this, and then it's got this little ridge, remember I told you? So I want the inside to be light. So let's go with our light Flirty Flamingo. And just put some color down in here. And I'm going to try to not so much exactly mimic, and there is a little splatter stamp, so I thought about putting it on there, but I'm not. And then let's go with the Calypso Coral. And I do use my bullet tips 90% of the time when I use my blends. I know most people use the other tip. But you can get right up to the edge. Don't go all the way to it because the blends bleed a little bit. Let's get our Poppy Parade. I think the bullet tip just gives you a little bit more blending ability. And now the Razzleberry, and this is the light Razzleberry. I'm trying to keep as much white border. It'll bleed over to it a little bit, but we'll live with that. nobody's going to look that close. And the paper on the inside has that kind of modern art feel to it. So if it blends a little bit, that's okay. Okay, now that we have it like this, let's go back and take our lightest color, which is the light Flirty Flamingo, and let's blend it all and get the places where I don't have any. And I know people don't like when I squeak. If you don't like when I squeak, it's going to squeak a minute, so just turn down your volume. But this will blend it all nicely. And you want to do this with whatever the lightest color that you did. And if it gets it all too light, then just go back and, but all these where they're kind of scratchy edges, I want to get rid of those as much as I can. And the brush tip, you just can't press hard enough to do this with the brush tip. So the ladies who come to my camp, I have a lot of squeakers because I've taught them it's okay to squeak. So you can see it's blending it now. And now we've got more of the border that's able to show. Now we'll go back and just hit a little bit of the dark, get some darker color back in the centers over where the darker colors were. Okay, so I've that was probably not even 2 minutes of coloring to just add some dark back in. And so now that I've got all the dark places, I'm gonna go back in. You wanna be careful with your light color, because if you keep going with it, then it's all gonna disappear. Because it just will keep getting lighter and lighter, but I'm just gonna blend the edges in so they blend in. I like this smudgy part over here because they, see, I'm trying to get it to kind of look like the flowers look. And see, there's smudgy parts. See the smudgy parts in here? I could have added a yellow. In fact, let's. I didn't, if I have any over here, yeah, I do. I don't know what yellow that is. Let's try this. Oh, perfect. Just what it needed. My other card doesn't have that. Okay, so now let's just stick this on and then the card's done. And then I'll show you the one I didn't approve of. So you're just gonna stick this on here and you want it to kind of overlap. And then as far as signing your name, this is one of those cards that you just take a black Sharpie and you just literally sign your name in there. You wanna make sure you put your adhesive on this piece, because if you put your adhesive on here and go all the way to the edge, then you're gonna seal your card shut. So line it up so it goes almost to the edge here. And once you have it where you want it, then press it down. Let's get our Crystal Effects again. Let's add 3 blobs of Crystal Effects. And again, this is in the holiday catalog. And there are so many things in our catalogs, both the holiday and the annual, that would make fabulous stocking stuffers. Like that, if you know a teenage girl or a 7 or 8-year-old girl, she would love that. So I want to make sure that I get one of these cute little black ones, because the matte black ones are just adorable and they'll show up a little bit better on here than they did on the other card. Gold one. And let's get a little pink. I think they're poppy flower. And then we're done. Super simple. Oh, no, I forgot to add this. I wouldn't have even remembered if I didn't see it laying there. It doesn't really need it, I guess. So I just added it. Right under here. This is why these things are so good to have. It'd be easier to lift it up if I didn't have the wet stuff on there. But I don't want to knock my sequins off. This just gets another little taste of color, another texture to the card. A let's put it there. And because on my other one, I used adhesive and I stuck it there. But here you go. Here's how you fix another mistake. This card has just been rife with them. And you know, when I did the first one, I was like, I'm just giving up. I'm not going to even do this. But I really liked the idea of the paper behind. But here's how to fix 101 mistakes on one project. And I didn't want to give up the idea that I had as soon as we saw this on stage. When we were at Center Stage and we were flipping through the catalog and I saw this die. I said to my girlfriends I was sitting with, oh, I want to use this and I want to do this with it. So it's been in my head and I didn't want to give up on it. But you know, sometimes when it's in your head, getting it to paper, not so easy. Okay, so here's this one and here's the black and all pretty. I'm going to lift this one up so my sequins don't spill. So here's my other one. You know, each of your little things, I like it with the yellow. It adds a little bit more, but they're always going to look a little bit different because it's just a background you created with your blends. One hint is to let your stamping dry a little bit. As you can see, I stamped that and then I went on and did the sequins and then came back. If you color right away, then it might bleed. So just give it, you know, 2 or 3 minutes. Just don't stamp and then start coloring. So here it is, all pretty with all of my added dazzling diamonds all over it. Here's the one, and it's missing. It had ribbon tied around it. It had, I will tell you, the green from the Noble Peacock foil is beautiful with this. The Granny Apple Green looked fabulous, and I had some leaves on it. It's just a hot mess. It's just so busy that you couldn't see the paper, and that paper's beautiful. And I was mad that I had wasted a piece of brand new paper. I was mad that I had wasted all my beautiful sequins. I was mad that, you know, it was not what was in my head. So, and at first it was all white, and I sent it to my daughter, and she's like, yeah, it's too white. So it was all put together. There was ribbon up here. There were the leaves where you can kind of tell where the leaves were. And she said, maybe if you stamp something on it. So I stamped the flowers, and then it was just too flowery. So then I stamped these little smudges, and then it was just too much. So then I took the leaves and the ribbon off, and then it was just, ugh. And then it went into the trash can. And at some point in the trash, I cut the ribbon off, thinking maybe not having the ribbon would help, but I've lost the leaves. So there you go. Not all my cards turn out the way I think that they should. So it's still kind of a trash card. Although if I trim this off and take, I don't know. You know, and after a while you've spent so much on a card that you're not happy, time on a card that you're not happy with, that it's better just to step away. And so I decided then to try with a bolder design. I like the bolder design on the black. So this is too much seeing through the paper. This, I think, is better. And then trimming away some, then you saw that that's what you were seeing behind. So there you go. Not all my designs start out perfectly, but so don't feel bad. In fact, I talked to my stepmom this morning and she said her cards don't look as good as mine. And I'm like, it's because what I allow you to see online is not always what's in my trash can. But today you got to see some of my trash. So from my rubbish bin to yours, have a great day. Bye.